Okay, so in this task I'm going to show you how to do some various presentation techniques to help your drawings really stand out from the page. Here's a finished piece. You can see what we're going to do is we're going to add some shading to make your blocks look a little bit more three-dimensional. We're also going to make them look kind of shiny, like plastic. We're going to make some blocks look like wood. We're going to make some look like they're metallic. We're also going to add some backgrounds which help your drawings stand out from the page, and some drop shadows, and that's about it. So let's have a go. So you should have something that looks like this after the oblique sketching task, and you should have gone over it in fineliner. Make sure you've got rid of all the pencil lines, and you should have outlined them with a fineliner. So you just need some pencil crayons, and you're going to need a ruler, and you'll need a pencil. Okay, so let's get going. Okay, first of all, we're going to pick a nice red. We're going to make one of our blocks look like plastic. We're going to shade it in red. So we're going to do a simple block first of all to begin with. Now, when you're adding shading, you need to remember that you need a light source, and usually, obviously, a light source comes from above and shines down on an object. So we've got the ceiling lights, electric lights, or we've got the sun. So in this case, the light's going to come down, and the light's actually going to come from the kind of left-hand side here. So this area here, this face will be dark, this will be medium, and this will be light. And that's actually what is called a tint. So we're going to use one colour, which is red, which is actually a hue, and we're going to use one hue, and we're going to shade in that very heavily. We're going to shade in this not so heavily, and then we're going to shade it in very light. And we're going to use the paper as the white in the tint. Okay, if you read your booklet, you should find out more about what a tint is. So first of all, I'm going to begin shading here. I'm going to use my ruler to help me, so I don't go over the edge. I'm going to put it there. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to keep my pencil moving in the same direction, and it's going to be moving in the direction of the diagonal line. Doesn't have to all the time, but I'm going to press them really hard, and this is going to be the darkest side. We always start with the darkest side, because if you started with the lightest side and made that a little bit too dark, and then did the medium side and made that a little bit too dark, by the time you get to the dark side, you've got nowhere to go. So we're going to start with that side first. Then I'm going to do the medium, what we call the medium side. You can see my pencil strokes, I'm trying to go almost all the way across the page. Like so. You can move your ruler. The ruler is really just to stop you going over the edge of the shape. Okay, so I'm not pressing on quite so hard this time. There we get my medium shade, and then I'm going to do the top, and the top's going to be really light. I'm hardly going to press on with the pencil at all. In fact, I'm going to make my medium tone a little bit darker, medium tint, sorry, like that. So there we go. So basically you've got dark, medium, and light. Okay, let's try another shape. We're going to do something a little bit different this time. I'm going to make it look like it's shiny, like it's plastic. So I'm going to start off with the dark side here on this shape. So I'll need blue this time. Pencil line, moving in the same direction. If you don't do that, it ends up looking like it's scribbled on. So don't move in all directions with your pencil. Try and keep the pencil moving in the same direction. Now this time, on the medium side, I'm going to put a kind of flash of light in. And it's not going to be completely vertical. It's going to be slightly tilted. So all I'm going to do, very lightly with the pencil, is I'm going to draw two bands of light, one here and one here. This one's thicker than this one. Now if you just watch the video for a couple of minutes, you'll see it start to appear. Now this should be easier for you. difficult for me to move my arm around on the board. It should be easier for you, but I'm going to change my direction and go move upwards like this. There we go. As long as I've got a nice even tone, that's fine. So I'm going to use the ruler to help me stop going over the edge. Keep the pencil going in the same direction. Okay, like that. And then I'm going to just tilt the ruler slightly, like that. This time on the lightest part, very lightly, on the top like that. So we can see that the light, this flash of light, goes up the shape and over the top, and when it goes over the top it changes direction, and it should take the same direction as the edge here. Okay, so it goes up and then changes direction. You can see that there. Make my medium tone a little bit darker. There we go, quite happy with that. Okay, let's try one more. Let's try a different colour. Let's try this on a triangle. And the triangle is going to be slightly different in the fact that it's going to hit the dark side. The flat light will hit the dark side, and then it's going to stop. Whoops. So I'll just pick this purple. So this is going to be my darkest side here. Again, if you want to, use the ruler to help you. Okay, there we go. And then on the front, I'm going to have two streaks of light. Now the front, on the triangle, there's only two tints, sorry, and that's going to be dark and it's going to be medium. Like that. See, it looks shiny, it looks like plastic on the front there. That's great. Okay, so have a go at doing that on a few of your shapes. Very quickly, let's show you how to render to look like wood. Okay, I'm going to do this on this side. Again, you follow the same rule. There's a dark side, do that first. We can do this with a yellow pencil crayon. Do the dark side first. Then there's going to be a medium side. Try and keep the pencil going in the same direction if you can. It's very difficult for me to do that sitting at my desk. And then the top will be very light. Okay. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to use a orange pencil crayon, and all I'm going to do is just put some lines in like this to kind of represent the grain pattern in the wood. Just some stripes, very rough, not straight at all. When the grain hits the side here, I'm going to go in this direction like that, and on the top you'll kind of see a little bit of the grain as well. Okay, something like that should be fine. And then finally, with the brown pencil crayon, I'm just going to put some little flecks of brown in that. I suppose this would look like some kind of pine, or very, very light wood. And it's not an exact representation of wood, but you do get the idea that it is actually wood. Let's try another one. Let's try one of the irregular shapes. Try this one. Now the regular shapes, when you're shading those in, or when you're adding your tint, it will go dark, medium and then light on the top. So here you're actually going starting quite dark and getting lighter as you go to the top. Let's just shade in the front. The shading doesn't matter too much with the wood, because wood isn't, it's not a perfect surface anyway. So I'm just going to put my stripes in. like that, and then again the end grain where the pattern goes across the end of the wood would be a little bit of pattern maybe on top as well, and then just finish that off with some few flecks of brown, and then at the end as well. So it's very quick way of rendering to make that look like wood. So this is what we call, when we actually make the shading or make the colouring look like a material, that's when we call it rendering. And one more type of material is metal. And all I'm going to do is use the same rules before. Let's do this L shape. This time I'm using a pencil. It's the only difference. I'm not using a coloured pencil crayon. I'm using a pencil to get that kind of grey metallic effect, and I'm going to use this shine kind of effect that I use with the plastic. Same with the metal. So you need to be very careful when you're shading with a pencil, because it's far more easy to tell where you have shaded. Okay, so you can be very smooth, very gentle with the pencil when you're shading in. The pencil tends to be a lot softer than the pencil crayon. Okay, something like that, and then just follow the shading over the top very lightly. Okay, and I'll make this surface very light as well. Okay, that's not bad. There we go. You can try that on a couple of your other shapes as well. So a couple of more things I'm going to show you. I'm going to show you the backgrounds. So for the backgrounds, I'm going to use a light green and a light blue. Because usually light blue or green will look better, because if you think of objects and backgrounds, you think of backgrounds maybe being the sky, so obviously we use blue for the sky, and green obviously could be grass, land, hills, that kind of thing. So blue and green tend to work best, and all I'm going to do for this is with a ruler, to keep it nice and straight, is I'm going to basically on the corner of an object, okay, with the triangle it would stick out slightly like this. All I'm going to do is draw a square or rectangle, and then I'm just going to fill that in colour. Okay, I'm going to press on quite hard with the pencil crayon and get a nice bright blue. And there we go. That's easy as that. And you can see what it does is it just puts a bit of contrast between the shape and the background and makes your shape stand out a lot more. So we'll do a green one on here. Okay, this technique is just, you can just call it, hasn't really got a name really, but you could call it backgrounds. There we go, something like that. The last presentation technique I'm going to show you is the drop shadow. Okay, now you can do this with a ruler if you want to. I'm not going to do this with a ruler. And the drop shadow basically is the shape that you can see here. You imagine the shape is going to move. In this case, we're going to move down to the right, down and to the right. So this shape is well, kind of a square. So we're going to start by coming out, following that line down, and then I need to replicate this line here, and then we're going to go across and then back up again there. Okay, and it creates this kind of drop, what we call a drop shadow effect. And like the backgrounds, all it does is really kind of lift your idea, your object from the page, makes it stand out. That's what these presentation techniques are all about, is making your idea stand out more from the page, making them look more professional. And you can see it basically looks like the object is kind of floating above the page slightly. Let's do that with another shape. Let's do that with the block up here. So shape goes out at an angle, comes down, angled there, all the way across, and then up. So all you're doing is basically imagining that the shape, the whole shape that you've drawn, moves down and to the right. Now that might be a little bit more difficult with the more organic or irregular shapes. We'll have a go at one in just a second. There we go, something like that. We'll have a go at one of the irregular shapes maybe. I can have a go at this one. So imagine the shape it looks something like that, although that's not perfect, but we'll have a go anyway. And see, I'm doing this with a fine liner. Again, I'm trying to keep, I always try and keep the fine line moving in the same direction pretty much as one of the sides of the shape. In this case, I'm trying to keep my pen moving in the direction of the line on the shape, which is happens to be a curve, obviously. Don't worry if you haven't got every piece of white. Something like that's fine. That looks okay, but it's not perfect. Okay, so have a go at adding the shading and the three tints, dark, medium and light. Have a go at making some of the objects look like plastic. Have a go at making some of them look like wood. Have a go at rendering some of them to look like metal. Have a go at the backgrounds, the colour backgrounds, the blue and the green, and have a go at the drop shadow. And there you go. And you should end up, like I said, with something that looks like this.